And I know this comes with the privilege of being a heavily tattooed 6 foot tall man.
Sure.
So like
Yeah.
my wife can't say these same things. She's had these
Right.
same experiences,
Yeah.
and for her own protection, she can't do it.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
morally, I feel like I have to be the one to do it because I'm in a position where even more so than you, because I am still a white guy. Like
Right.
me,
Right.
if I get aggressive in public, it's viewed differently than if you get aggressive in public.
Yes. Yeah.
So like I'm aware of all these things, and it becomes for me morally wrong if I don't say something because I have the most privilege to actively say something about
I
it.
believe a very famous rice manufacturer had a famous quote, and he said, "With great power comes great responsibility."
I just gotta.
I'm a father. I'm a father.
At first, I was like, "Where the fuck is he going?"
I'm big into rice, man. uh, but you're right.
Don't you do the.
Welcome to the show.
This week, I'm talking to Ross Greene. Ross is a marketing director at Sync. He and I were coworkers for a couple of years. He works on this show. He did the cover art for it. He helps me with the editing. And we get into being dads, talk about art, talk about creativity. We play an obscure movie game and just have a really good chat. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy it. It's good to see you, my friend.
Dude, it's so good to see you. I mean, we've been speaking, which is not enough for me, but so good to see you.
Yeah.
And I'm loving your new backdrop as well.
Like this? Yeah, I'm switching it up. I know I need to come up with like an official background. But I don't want to be one of those guys where it's like a neon light of some
Yes.
kind.
Yeah.
Or like my own name.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is a nice glimpse into who you are. Maybe you could like subliminally write out your name in books, you know?
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I was thinking I'll mix it up and I'll throw some movies back there. I've started like work calls every day. I switch out and I throw a new record on the shelf, and I'm like, just so you know.
I think I'd seen, I don't know what this is about me, but Tom Segura, I think he might have been on the Two Bears, One Cave podcast. Anyway, he used to have like a record of the week in the background that he changed out. And it was interesting because like the stuff that he would put up, I don't know if he was just trying to be edgy, but a lot of it was like, oh, I would never have guessed he'd listen to that. But yeah, not a massive fan of those guys, but he does a really good job of doing a podcast.
It's such a weird skill that some people are just like unbelievably good at it. And even people whose like work I don't enjoy outside of it, or the other way around, of people whose work I do enjoy, and then they get on a podcast and you're like, not it.
Yeah.
Not
surprisingly, I would say I mostly watch like comedians podcasts. And it's absolutely perfectly suited for that vocation, right? I mean, it translates so well. And so yeah, for them to kill it is no surprise.
I think the It's Always Sunny one. I don't know if you've listened to that one.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. It's so good. Yeah. It's so good. Also, them like going back and be like, this episode's bad, just so you know. We did a bad job with
this. Yeah. Well, it's crazy when like how people have taken the format of podcasting and have turned it into almost like a TV show, like a fully produced. It's not that raw, like it's just me and a couple of cameras. I mean, it's a fully fledged, well lit set, and I like it. I'll be honest with you. I want to say that I'm not for it because it takes away from the purity of podcasting, but the majority of my screen time is YouTube and stuff. I watch some stuff in the living room, but I'm mainly watching stuff on YouTube. So if that's how I'm ingesting my TV time, then yeah, let it look good.
I do think that is like a fundamental shift in like focus of medium, where before it didn't matter. Like your podcast could sound like shit because there was
Yeah.
12 podcasts. So
Right.
What are they going to listen to the other 11? Not
Right,
a big
yeah.
deal. And now literally, and I'm living proof of this, any asshole with a microphone like can do it. And it's not that hard to get started. So like the people that are now investing in like, oh no, we're going to have a space. Like we go record in our area and it is curated.
Yeah.
And then also the quality control side of it. Like, no, we own all of this. Like every sound you hear is because we want you to hear it. Whereas you're going to hear my daughter upstairs running around. So,
well, I think like we're through the 2008 crisis. It was weird that people kind of lent into that homemade. Oh, I want like artisanal granola soap. Like I don't want Johnson and Johnson stuff. And I think we're staring down the barrel of some other awful situation coming up in the future, hopefully far away. Yeah. But I feel like with the oversaturation of podcasts, like I saw David Cross has one. Speaking of people that like you wouldn't kind of expect to have one, even his is very well produced.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of like the British news article. What was it? The interview that happened to that British guy and his wife came in and the toddlers came in the background. It's hilarious, but it makes it more real.
That's an example I give all the time at work. Like, I mean, the last 4 or 5 companies I've been at have all been remote first.
Yep.
And so like everybody at some point like, oh, sorry, my dog is like just kicking the door in. And then like, no, we're so far beyond that where it was like a worldwide story that this guy's child was in the background while he was working.
Right.
But I mean, I'm like, no, there's a severed hand on my bookshelf.
But what better way to get on the same level as whoever it is you're talking to? Like, you got a 50-50 chance that they've either got a dog or they got kids, and like, hey, baby, we're relating.
So I use it as a tool because as an account manager, my job is to get people to see me and not see the company. So my goal is always, if they're talking to me, I don't want them to think of XYZ, whatever company name I work for. I want them to see Zach, and because Zach is harder to fire than an agency. An agency is really easy to fire because people fucking hate agencies.
Yeah.
People like Zach. So I would like
hey, I agree. And I think that can go on a t-shirt.
Just people like Zach.
People like Zach.
That's funny.
It could be, people like Zach ... And then that way it's like either people like Zach or people like Zach do things like this.
Yeah. Like start a podcast. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, dude, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
We have been talking a lot recently, which is fun. I'm very excited about all of the things we're working on.
Yeah.
But the feedback I've been getting about even just like the cover art change has been so good. So thank you for making it.
I'm so glad.
People are like, dude, I like what you had before was fine. And I'm like, no, it was Canva. It's not fine. It's just that I don't know how to design things. And they're like, it feels right. Like it feels like, no, that's what the show is, more so than just a black and white shapes.
I'm so glad. And I think it speaks highly for like the reason why I reached out to you. Like not only did I miss you, but I believed in what you were doing, and like your personality and just who you are, I think is very important just to the world. I think you're a great guy. So just getting whoever, just a bit of you more out there is what I wanted. And so, yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So as I've told you, I don't prep for any sort of call. It's better that I know you. Like it's weird sometimes when I'm about to hop on and I'm like, I've never spoken to this human and I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
But just like trying to get an idea of, all right, what should we talk about? And like I texted you yesterday, like I've been thinking about like types of art that people are into, why they're drawn to art. And it was honestly because of all the books behind me. Like I was on a call and somebody was asking like, well, I see Chuck Palahniuk. So like, are you into like, like satire and stuff. I'm like, well, mainly like the most fucked up horror you could possibly
Right.
imagine.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really into.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's so weird. That feels like a pretty extreme juxtaposition of your personality. And I'm
Sure.
like, no, but like if you talk to people that are really into horror,
Uh-huh.
or like Clay, when I had Clay Chapman on, like he's the most energetic, happy, bubbly person you will meet.
Yes. Yep.
And the stuff he writes is deeply troubling.
Yeah.
But because he exercises it, like he
Right.
gets that out of his system, and it's the confrontation of I don't have to be afraid of the thing I've already faced. So
Yeah.
whether that be writing it down
Right.
or watching a terrible, terrible movie. So thinking about who would be fun to talk to about that, my first memory of you when I started at Sync
Uh-huh.
was like at lunch. You were the cool looking guy with the cool accent, like sitting drawing on his iPad or like
Yeah.
writing orange on a banana peel or some shit like that.
Yeah. There's an interesting period of my time. Yeah.
And so like it didn't matter what we were doing if we were switched out of work mode for whatever break, you were doing something creative. Like that's
Yeah.
always the lens I view you through. Is like, well, Ross is doing cool shit.
Right.
Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it is. Like I don't know if you're still playing music, but at the time I know you were making music,
Yeah.
painting, doing spray paint art, like
Yeah.
literally anything creative you could get your hands on. So I thought you would be a fun person to talk. Just art in general and what draws people to what they do and why they do it.
It's funny you mentioned that like you saw me doing stuff like that at work, and just you bringing it up, I'm like, I guess I was doing that, and
Yeah.
any kind of downtime, any opportunity, I will be drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I feel like it's like if I smoked cigarettes, or if I smoked like one of those Juul.
Yeah.
Am I
Juul.
aging myself? Juul. What's the other one? Who fucking get?
I just call them all vape. It's all vape. I don't know.
If I vaped, I'd be vaping also. I have a very addictive personality.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was an alcoholic, and I think that's kind of like come out in me that I would like. I feel like if I was able to get my hands on coke when I was younger, I would have been into it, but I didn't. Thankfully,
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I have a very addictive personality.
Yeah,
and so if I wasn't drawing, I'd be vaping or something. And so I'm just so glad that I have the ability to that's my vice, is like drawing. And also it's a form of meditation for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like it quietens the voices. And I think it was during the pandy when people were talking about mental health a lot more.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is kind of sad to say, but it was like seeing videos on TikTok of people displaying like a constant sound in your head and just like constantly critiquing yourself, thinking of yourself. I can't do something without then thinking, could I have done that better? Could I have done that quicker? Could I have? So there's just a constant narration in my head.
Yeah.
And yeah, drawing stops that.
That's really interesting. So is it like a way of disconnecting from the things you've been doing? Because like it was always at lunch. Like as soon as we broke for lunch and work, and we were lucky enough to work at a place that catered our meals every single day.
Yeah, that was nice.
You would go grab a plate and then you were at your desk drawing. And
and
I think when I started, you were an account manager, and then you moved into training. So like you were doing the same call 14 times a day, just back to back to back.
Yeah.
And then like full disconnect at lunch, iPad came out, the pen came out, and you were just drawing.
Yeah. Well, I worked for a company before Sync, a couple of jobs before Sync, and I was there for 8 years. I was doing tech support for that, and that again, not creative at all, but it was tech support for real estate agents. So really, really simple, just like Windows management. And a lot of the times I would black out and then just come back to, and I'd solve the problem. and and that happened in the next job where I was training people on the same thing over and over again. And I'd black out, come to, and problems fixed. And I think knowing that I was in those situations where I was not creative.
Yeah.
And I always, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be like a successful artist, or just, and then my focus switched to I just want to make money being creative.
Yeah.
That's more attainable. And so when I wasn't doing that, I found the downtime, or even those times that I'd black out, I'd be painting or I'd be drawing while doing my job.
Yeah.
And the security of knowing I had health insurance, which fucking sucks that your health insurance is tied to you being employed.
Yeah.
And I could pay my mortgage. And I could buy art supplies. Like if I had to do something other than be a struggling artist to make some money, I could make a bit more money and then just kind of like paint while I was working. Yeah.
It's not a bad balance to have.
Yeah. That and I think that was it. Like it was the switch between like I want to be Basquiat. Like I want to be like Damien. I don't want to be Damien Hirst, but I want to have art parties and do a bunch of coke. Thankfully that never happened. You know what I mean? Like that was the famous artist success that I wanted. And I think that I was much happier thinking, oh well, I can sell some art. I'm selling art. I'm paying for my insurance, I'm paying for my home, I'm paying for my car, I'm taking care of it. And it's not painting by painting. And that was nice. Yeah, that security. And I think, you know, growing up in a single parent household, knowing how life can be when money's scarce. I didn't want that. I never made a lot of money, but there was a definite paycheck coming. Every 2 weeks.
You didn't worry about if you were eating that day.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas if you just go I am a pure artist all the time. That's when you're like, well, I've got 89 cents. I can get a cheesy roll up at Taco Bell.
Exactly.
And we'll call it a day.
So I have to walk to Taco Bell, or I have to pay like $1 for the bus to go to Taco Bell to then get back to then. That's a lot of stress. Like with all the rest of the voices and the noise in my head, I don't need that stress. I will sacrifice being a starving artist so that I can not have another thing in my head.
Yeah. Do you think that having the full-time job and then being able to do the art outside of it, do you think that working that job helps fuel the inspiration for it? Because for me, even though this is a creative outlet for me, I would never refer to myself as an artist of any type. I'm just talking. But for me, this is such a different focus than, even though my job is talking all day long. That's all I do. When I talk at work, it's to achieve a certain outcome. And it's not often an outcome I give a shit about. It's just not. Whereas this is pure, unadulterated. I can talk about whatever I want. And whatever the conversation happens to be, no matter what direction it goes, that's it. There's no redo. I'm just going to post it because that's how this works.
It's a lot of discovery opposed to like you trying to achieve something during a conversation. It's nothing but like new information and just chatting. I love that. I'm really happy for you, man. It's a great endeavor. And I see your new microphone setup looking very nice.
Oh yeah, you like that? I'm getting trying to get more official. I won't go the full like cans over my ears. That's not for me. I considered it. It's just not me. I don't.
Highly unnecessary.
It feels too like at the gym for me to be wearing those.
And also it's like not that I watch a lot of sports, and maybe I'm completely dating myself again and making myself look very ignorant, but I know like in England at the very least, horse racing announcers always use this very specific old microphone that you put up to get to your mouth, and it's ridiculous. There's no need for it. And it's like sportscasters and stuff have the massive things with the microphone, and it's unnecessary, right? They're props, right? They're props.
Of course.
Unnecessary. Like earphones and microphone, that'll do.
No, I think those headphones are like the talk show equivalent of like the coffee mug.
Yeah.
Where like, there's like 6 ounces of water in that coffee mug.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, I'm a sucker for gadgets and props and all that lot. So I'm being very hypocritical. I get it.
There's other things I would rather waste my money on than that.
Yeah.
there's too much physical media for me to buy.
Until you get sponsored and they're like, hey, we got these glowing dark ones with LED lights in it, cat ears. Yeah. Look, hey.
I would do some cat ears. I think that would be a fun way to mix things up.
You've mentioned it before. I love the fact that you wore a protect trans kids shirt to the gym. So I don't for 1 second think that you would care about some cat ears.
Look, it's been a long time since I've been in a fist fight, and I think I'm just like actively. Maybe it's me approaching midlife crisis. I'll be 35 this year, so I think maybe it's like me trying to get into a fist fight.
Didn't you do martial arts of some degree?
Yes, I am a black belt.
You are?
Yeah.
Damn. I guess once a black belt, always a black belt. It doesn't.
Always.
It doesn't. Okay.
No, I think I did it when I was really young.
Okay.
So like.
And what was it? What did you do?
Tung Sudo. So it's just Korean Taekwondo, essentially.
Okay.
So I mean, as like base level stuff as you could get. Towards the end of me doing it, MMA was becoming really popular, and so we started doing like grappling stuff.
Okay.
And I was really good at that because I'm lanky and flexible.
Excellent.
So easy.
Yeah.
But no, sometimes I think I just want to like punch a transphobe would be fun. Like anybody just dropping slurs.
Yeah.
This actually reminds me of when we were in Vegas. I don't know if you remember, but it was after like that costume party. So
yeah.
Is that when you dressed as David Bowie from Labyrinth?
Yeah.
And I was 6'9". so we were dressed like that, standing in a casino. And it wasn't even a client of ours. It was like a client's son.
Yeah.
And he dropped a hard R on you, and you just slapped the shit out of the guy.
What? But and here's the thing. What happened? It was even more strange than that. I was just being myself, and he
a delight.
Well, thank you. And he was alluding to like he's not prejudiced, even though he was clearly coming across as very prejudiced. And he said, like, I love X, Y, Z racial slurs for minorities. Yeah. And then he dropped the N-word on me. And I was like, the fuck? Like, why do you think it's okay to say that to me? And it's funny, this started because we were talking about martial arts. I remember I did martial arts. And
the slap showed it. Because excellent form.
Thank you very much. And I think there's nothing more. I didn't necessarily want to hurt him. I wanted to emasculate him. I wanted to embarrass him. And so like, I'm not a violent man. I don't want to get into fights at all, but I wanted to emasculate and embarrass the shit out of him. So I slapped him. But it was knee jerk. I'm not a violent person. I don't want to get in fights. But it was knee jerk and I fucking slapped him. And that happened to me when I was doing martial arts at school. Like I never thought that I'd ever use it, but some kid went to punch me and I did this like down block punch move and just punched him in the stomach. I was like, like the Power Rangers are onto something. Like it does work.
Muscle memory. It was there. You were ready to go.
Yeah. And that guy, hopefully he learned a lesson, or he walked away from that lesson thinking that mixed race, sexually ambiguous but racially ambiguous guys dressed as David Bowie are violent and need to be taken down a peg or two. Who knows? Hopefully he learned a lesson.
I think he was pretty far gone at that point anyway, so I don't know if he remembers that trip as a whole.
I hope not.
He was pretty hammered.
Yeah.
But I had a great time.
You know what? Me too. And for the record, I say I may or may not have slapped him, and I may or may not have muscle memory to slap.
Correct.
A bigot in the face.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah. I was listening to this band just recently. I was listening to a specifically black punk Spotify playlist. Because my daughter was reading a book recently and it was about punks, and she said that her reading program suggested a book for her, and it's like the first rule of being punk. And she
Mhm.
came home and told me about it. She said, "Dad, I love it. It's so good. Do you think I'm punk?" And I'm like, "Do you care about what people think about you?" She's like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say you're punk."
Yeah. Step
Uh,
one.
Step one, yeah, yeah. And so we were listening to a bunch of punk. There's this band they're called oh great. It's going to come back to me. It's an all girl band, like a punk rock band, and that's got me down this this path of listening to it. And there was a song. It was like "Punch a Nazi in the Face,"
Yeah.
and I think I know Dead Kennedys did a song, and I don't know if it was a cover of that. I don't know the song well enough, but what they were saying was so obvious.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, go punch a Nazi in the face.
Yeah.
Punch a bigot in the face. Like, don't let that be okay.
Hmm.
And I was listening to it yesterday while I was washing my car, and I tried to take the other standpoint and put the shoe on the other foot. And I was like, if you're a Nazi, if you're a bigot, and somebody punches you in the face for something that you believe in,
Yeah.
how does that make that person any worse than the person that they think you are, who's going to hurt somebody for something that they believe in? And just automatically in the back of my head, I was like, well, the Nazi doesn't believe in anything good.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that a bigot like that doesn't believe in anything good. So it's good to punch that person in the face. And so I was like, yeah, no, you can't let that shit slide.
No, it is morally sound, and I would say
Yes.
morally necessary to confront these people,
Right.
because we normalize it by not confronting.
Yes.
And that's why, like, bands like Stray from the Path, I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I don't.
But they have a song called Goodnight Alt-Right. And it's a song about punching Nazis. And they even reference Dead Kennedys in it.
Brilliant. I'm writing
because
down.
That's the whole point of the song. And that's the shit they talk about, because they know it's important to do that. And to circle back to wearing the Protect Trans Kids shirt, like, that's the whole impetus for it, of like, I don't want people to think it's okay to say those things around me. So they have to think about it if they see me, whether I'm wearing the shirt or not.
Yep.
So what for them, saying a slur out loud in a public place before, no big deal. They don't have to think about it. It's a normal conversation. But now they have to think about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to stand for it. And it's little things too. Like, I remember when the pandemic first started, I was in a grocery store wearing a mask. And a guy walks past and is like, towards me, no mask on. And so I just said, "What the fuck did you say?" And then he turned and kept walking, because like, these people are cowards most of the time.
Yeah.
When you confront them, and they're not used to being confronted, so then they tuck their tail and run. And I know this comes with the privilege of being a heavily tattooed 6 foot tall man.
Sure.
Like, my wife can't say these same things. She's had these same experiences, and for her own protection, she can't do it. So like, morally, I feel like I have to be the one to do it, because I'm in a position where, even more so than you, because I am still a white guy. Like,
right.
If I get aggressive in public, it's viewed differently than if you get aggressive in public.
Yes. Yeah.
So like, I'm aware of all these things, and it becomes for me morally wrong if I don't say something, because I have the most privilege to actively say something about it.
I believe a very famous rice manufacturer had a famous quote, and he said, "With great power comes great responsibility."
I just gotta.
I'm a father.
At first, I was like, "Where the fuck is he going?"
I'm big into rice, man. But you're right. I think that, and I think it's our generation. And I say our generation. I'm older than you, but
we're close enough in age.
Yeah. I feel like I'm your age. And
I feel like I'm your age.
Good. It's a Freaky Friday kind of. It's great. Good. Or big, which would probably age me some more. But I think, and especially with the fact that the younger generations do put everything out on social media, and like when we were growing up, I think it's awesome that we could get away with our teens and like our awkward situation, our awkward upbringing, and have it not being documented. But
Yeah.
the first time I saw a Facebook video of some kids that robbed somebody and they were like flashing the money and like their phone and stuff, I'm like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You don't have to put everything online. But now there are generations where everything is online, and there is some power in the anonymity of being behind the keyboard. You can call people out for shit.
Yeah.
And I think being able to walk around and be openly bigoted, letting people know that you can't get away with that, hopefully will shift the narrative. And while people felt like they could get away with it in close circles, even close circles are being monitored. You know, you can't just, you know, turn up in blackface anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're the Prime Minister of Canada, then you're.
Yeah, then it's charming. It's cheeky.
But no, I agree. I think, like you said, like our childhoods weren't documented. Like I don't have to worry about somebody finding a photo of me online from when I was 12 doing something stupid, because there aren't any. There might be like 4 photos in total of me from when I was 12. Like
right.
They just don't exist.
Yeah.
But like people are so open and so forward now because kids are used to everything being online, that so many things are normalized. So yeah, there are those Nazis who feel like they can go out in public and do whatever they want. But there's also the opposite of it, of like people coming out at younger ages and having communities around them that support them because it doesn't fucking matter. Or like people that don't have to worry about, well, my parents kick me out. Because no, their parents raised them knowing that they loved them. Like it's not, I don't care what you're into. It's irrelevant, has nothing to do with anything. So there's such a cultural shift in those things. And and I am a very pessimistic person. I put forth a very positive.
You sure do. Yeah.
It's my greatest skill set. I mask well, but a lot of things I'm very pessimistic about. Younger generations is not one of those things. Like at every turn, I'm seeing so much positivity about the way they include others, the things they stand up for. And then also just the shit they won't take.
This whole work movement is just, I love it. I love just and the amount of exposure that it is getting, and people just like, why am I fucking making all this money for these people and they can barely give me health insurance, or they don't give me health insurance. Being able to be vocal about it and just like let other people like, yeah, this does fucking suck, is wonderful. And I think that obviously I'm scared for the younger generation, but every older generation was scared of what we were going to be. And I think that the more people that can get out and protest and get their voices out there, it's easier to find out about a protest or something that's going on, because you had to be in those kind of renegade circles before. You had to be plugged in, but now it's everywhere. And if you feel similar and compelled by that, hey, turn up and make your TikTok video there. Just be there. No,
strength in numbers. Like there's so much more mentality of there's more of us than there are of them. In every situation, any sort of oppressive force, people are like, oh no, we like 1,000,000 to 1 we outnumber them.
Right. and you know what, even though it might not make a fucking blind bit of difference if everyone turns up and protests, the government are going to do what they want to do.
Exactly.
There is camaraderie, and it does make you feel good that you are not alone. Like I remember I went to a Run the Jewels concert the night, I feel like it was the night that Trump was inaugurated. It was something that either we found out that he was going to be president, or it was like the night of the inauguration. And just the vibe in that room, it was at the Tabernacle, and just everyone was pissed. But you could feel it, and then to have it at the backdrop of Run the Jewels. Holy shit. Like I've been to marches and protests that I feel connected, but I didn't feel connected on an emotional level as I was there. Like everybody, and it was such a mixed crowd as well. It was was incredible. Yeah.
So I can tell you it was the inauguration because the night he won or the night it was announced, I was at a concert at the Tabernacle. Very different group. I was seeing Tegan and Sarah, but similar reaction.
Adorable.
Similar reaction.
Yeah. Madness. Yeah. Before I forget, I looked it up. I didn't want to be rude because I was on my phone. Panic Shack is the name of the band. Panic Shack.
Panic Shack?
Yeah, it's a all-female British like punk group. So good. I'm trying to show my daughter as many female punk bands as possible. And it's awesome because like I'm educating myself as well. So Panic Shack, I recommend you looking them up.
I will. That is something I've actively done. Being a guy that listens to primarily metal, it's mostly dudes.
Yeah.
So like I do try when I'm in the car with my daughter to like make sure I'm playing music that isn't just a bunch of white dudes.
Right. Yeah.
So whether it be like, oh, here's Spirit Box, like this.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was. That and Ginger. Like
Tatiana is insane. She's so good.
I love obviously just watching the videos, but I remember showing my daughter, like we were watching a lot of baby metal. Like she loves baby metal.
Of course. I also love baby metal.
So. Same. So good. And then I showed her Ginger, and just she was like singing clean and just melodically just beautiful, and then she just fucking rips it, and she was blown away.
Yeah.
But you'd mentioned something a second ago about the younger generation being able to see so many different things. It's really interesting you say that because like, my daughter, the way that she sees differently abled people and different genders, like the idea of gender to her is so gray, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
That it's just because my wife and I have had those conversations with her at a young age and just kind of let that notion flourish. Whereas I was probably like early 30s before it clicked for me. Like, the fuck is gender?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? What the fuck is sexuality? How about everybody just does what they want?
Yeah.
But growing up like in the suburbs of England in the 80s and 90s, like,
wait, you're from England?
Oh, sorry. No. I let it slip. Like the idea, growing up with, oh, that's gay, or that's bent, or like, or it just terms for differently, different genders and proclivities. It was always negative.
Exactly.
And so to break that cycle and realize just how nothingy it is and how unimportant it is, but to see her latch onto this and just like it doesn't matter, blows me away. So the fact that information is out there for our kids, and hats off to fucking Bluey. I mean,
it's like I remember as my daughter was starting school and they were working through like, oh, he and she, and like we would have those conversations and I'd be like, but also it doesn't matter. People can be whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like it irrelevant. They're just a person. Like it's nothing. And I don't know about any sort of like religious background for you, but I was raised like a hyper conservative Southern Baptist. So like there were very clear delineations of, no, you are straight. Like anything else is bad.
Yeah.
Any sort of questioning, that's not you feeling something. That's sin. That's the devil at work. And I mean, I always joke like straight in with a question mark in parentheses after it. Like, yeah, sure, I'm straight, but also like that's a spectrum too. Like there's plenty of guys where I see a guy, I'm like, that is like an objectively attractive man. Like,
and honestly, I feel like that is the conversation I was having with this. I was allegedly having with this guy in Vegas, where they may or may not have been slapped by somebody that looked like me.
So David Bowie slapped
Bowie did it.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah. It's funny. I think the first time that you and I became I had the stepbrothers moment of, did we just become best friends? I think it was the third day in a row I came into the office wearing like a David Bowie t-shirt or like a Queen t-shirt, and I walked in the door like halfway through my first cup of coffee, like barely awake, and you're like, all right, dude, we get it, you like British music. Oh, I guess I did do that.
See, I don't even remember that. I remember there was quite a few people in that office that did not like me at all, just because like it's a stressful job.
Yeah.
Like what we were doing was difficult.
Yeah.
And so I was always like, oh, I'm just going to go balls to the wall jokes all day long.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
It's all jokes. I'm going to call it all out.
All jokes. Yeah.
So I don't recall that. I remember the shirts, but I don't recall that. And then I remember us sitting, and when I would interrupt you from drawing, we would play a movie game, and you would be like,
yeah.
You would give hints on what movie you watched.
Yeah.
And it would be random. You'd be like, it's a sequel to a remake set in the desert. I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? That's the one I remember because I didn't get it, and it was The Hills Have Eyes 2. So it stuck with me because I was like, what the hell? That is like the most sequel to a remake set in the desert. What is
simple, right?
Obviously.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a guy on TikTok that I've seen has kind of taken something that I did in the office after you left. A colleague and we would make it our mission to compliment people. And I do this to this day. If I see it and I like it, I'm letting you know. Because who's going to get offended by being complimented? And of course, unless it's some dude and you compliment his girlfriend or whatever, like it's risky business. But we would like every day we would make an opportunity. Like if somebody walked past and they had a good outfit on, because a lot of people would just roll up to the office just like super bummy. And so somebody put the outfit together. Hey, loving what you did today. Congratulations. And oh, thank you so much. So I changed it from obscure movie trivia to complimenting people. Yeah.
I love that.
That's how I got through the day. Yeah.
It's a nice way to like just lift spirits.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so small and it costs you nothing.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first started taking on clients. And it's not that there wasn't a training process, but like you can only train someone so much to get on a call with a real estate team.
Yeah.
And help explain a very complicated to them product. That they're paying a lot of money for. Yep. So
they wanted to do their whole job for them.
Exactly. Yeah. This automates my job, right? I just sit down and I make money. That's how this works. I show up at closings.
Right.
So I remember like I was on a very difficult call, and as soon as it hung up, Leslie came up and she was like, hey, you did great on that. She's like, everything you were saying, it was like so confident, but like not overbearing and easy. And like I was a couple weeks in, so I still don't feel like I know what I'm doing most of the time, but I really didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. And then after that, I was like, oh, okay, I've got this.
Yeah.
It's so small.
Like if you feel compelled, if that's how you feel about something, what does it take to share that with somebody? Like it makes you feel good because like you have the feeling in you and you get to put it out there.
Yeah.
And how somebody receives it, I don't think many people are going to take a compliment as long as you're not creepy about it, which I'm not always like great at doing. I'll just get it out there and I might come across very creepy. But I think most people like a nice compliment.
Yeah. I don't take them well in my personal life.
That's the problem. Me either.
It's very difficult to hear them.
Yeah.
I don't think I heard them a lot growing up. So for me, like it like short circuits my brain a little bit. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this information. And as a person that almost never feels awkward.
Right.
Like even like a transfer of awkwardness, like my daughter will watch something. She'll be like, I got to turn it off. Like, this is too awkward. Like, I don't feel any of that.
Oh, yeah.
I feel zero awkwardness ever. But like when someone says something it can even be my wife. And I'm like, this feels weird.
Yeah. My wife cannot watch Love on the Spectrum. Like she cannot. It just
too awkward.
Yeah, it's too awkward. But so I completely know what you mean. But I take compliments very, very badly. And I think, again, this is my own self-therapy. I think that it comes from being in a single parent family, knowing what a sacrifice for me would mean to my mum. Like for me to ask for something would have been such a sacrifice for her. Or like, I want to do something, I want to go somewhere. Like I know we can't do that. So like for somebody to do something for me, I'm like, oh, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot of conversations. Like me and my mum get along really, really well. And she was like, yeah, but I want to do it for you. And it would make me feel good to do it. So for you to accept it would make me feel good.
Yeah.
And so that I've had to kind of train that in my daughter as well, and train myself to like, if somebody wants to do something nice for you, let them do it, because it's not really about you. It might make them feel good.
Yeah. I still don't like it.
That's fine.
I understand it conceptually.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, no, this feels bad. This feels very bad.
Yeah.
But similar, like I do remember, like, it wasn't a single parent household, but it's single income, and there were 7 of us. So like, even though it wasn't like pressed on us, I was still, even at a young age, like aware of like, oh, money. Like it obviously costs a lot to have this many kids.
There's a lot of us around. Yeah.
So I would feel bad about asking for stuff,
Yeah.
or if somebody got me something, I would feel bad about it. And I think I still feel that way. Like there's things that I feel guilty if I spend money on myself for.
Do you spoil your kids? Do you get them?
I spoil the shit out of them. It's unreal.
Yeah.
I try to balance it by like explaining, like, hey, dad works really hard to afford these things. But like, I don't ever want them to feel that pressure of like, if they want something, that they're a burden for being a kid and wanting something. So like trying to find that balance of, you can't have everything you want.
Right.
But also life is short. Like you want to go see a movie and eat cotton candy and popcorn and shit. Yeah. Okay. We're going to do that.
Yeah, I remember like once my brother and I went to my dad's house for the weekend. We came back and my mum had left some toys on our bed. And I always remember it was a Chitara figure from Thundercats. So good. And I think my brother got like Tigra. And maybe awesome. That imprinted, like the woman and the sexually ambiguous man guy lady. I don't know who what Tigra was, but it imprinted on me. And I just remember that joy that I got from getting a toy when we don't normally get it. And so whenever my daughter is like, she wants something, and I think that's the thing that I need to be careful of, is like, if she wants something, I'm like, yeah, fucking get things. I want you to have things. And then so like, she loves the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? And that
new movie is so good,
so good,
unreal, and the soundtrack, the Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Brilliant. It's so good. She loves the Turtles. She loves she gives me shit for the original Turtles, like the cartoon and the movies. Rightly so, but know where you're coming from. But she got a Leonardo for Christmas, and then she bought she loves Donatello, which is crazy. I'm a Raphael guy. She loves Donatello. She bought that, and she bought Michelangelo, but we couldn't find Raphael anywhere. And this could have been, and this is a downfall of my parenting, is I always feel like every moment is a teaching moment. This could have been a teaching moment of, all right, well, you don't always get what you want, blah, 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 hunt for it, save up money for it, whatever. And one day I got out of work and I went to go pick her up, and I went by Walmart like to get some food or whatever. And I was like, let me just go down the toy aisle. I went to the toy aisle. Raphael was there. Like, I'm buying it for her. And I was like, this is going to make it. She's got all the turtles. Like, she loves it. It's not come out of the fucking box. She's not touched it. And I'm like, she doesn't give a shit about it like that much, surely. Like, if that was me, I'd have them out. And she's an amazing artist. So, like, what I was thinking, she'd set them all up and, like, she'd draw them and so, still in the box.
Because she knows it's more valuable that way. She's thinking long term.
Yeah. I hope so.
That's what's so like my son, he doesn't ask for as much. Like if he's got video games, he's good to go. So
Yeah.
like Game Pass, all of that. He's
Awesome.
always
Yeah.
got fresh games coming in. Don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it. But my daughter, like it's toys. She wants stuff.
Love it.
But then she's like super grateful when she does get it. So like
Yeah.
she is
Yeah.
aware and she's thankful for it, or she's manipulating me. Either way, it's still
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah. 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 And I don't know if it's, guilt of wanting to provide a great experience for your kids,
Mhm.
but also growing up in the 80s and 90s, like that is a big thing of like not getting what you want and dealing with it, getting over it when you don't get what you want. And I remember I watched a TV show. It was like in the 90s, it was about this kid who slips into a coma. And it's like his whole imaginary like life that's going on in this coma, like proper 90s theme.
Oh, it's not St. Elmo's Fire.
No, it was a boy, and his like best friend was a girl, and there was another boy, and then they changed characters in kind of like a Wizard of Oz kind of a situation. And I watched every episode, and I didn't necessarily really like it.
Yeah.
But I was so far into it. I was like, it probably came on after like Samurai Pizza Cats or something. Like I just watched it. And the last episode, we went on vacation and I missed it. And I was pissed. And then I was like, but I missed it because I'm on holiday.
Yeah.
Get over it. And so there's lessons to be learned there of not always getting what you want and seeing the bright side of things.
Yeah. But did you ever see the finale?
I did not. And the thing is, I have no idea what this show was called. No clue. I did go back and watch the final episode of Dawson's Creek, which I didn't see for the longest time. I was surprise, big Dawson's Creek fan. And I missed the last episode, and I went back when I was like 30 odd, and rubbish. It was so bad. Like the 90s, teen dramas don't always hold up.
You want to hear something wild that I often do? I will watch all of a show and then never watch the finale.
Ooh, maniac.
I'll just stop. I'll be like, no, this is good for me. Like,
where do you lie on Friends? Do you like Friends?
Yeah, I saw the last season first.
Okay.
So like I remember it being a big deal and like people watching it. So that was my introduction. And then I didn't see it because like reruns. I wasn't really watching reruns.
Right.
So like I would see episodes here and there, but only like 5 or 6 years ago did I see it all chronologically. Okay. My wife and I watched all of it when it hit Netflix. And I'm like, yeah, it's good, but it's a sitcom, so it's the same thing over and over again.
Absolutely.
Like, it's comfort food. I get that. It's like low. It's never gonna challenge you.
No.
It's early Beatles. That's what it is.
And that's why it works. Yeah.
And so it's good. I think it's the best version of what it does.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily always interested in what it does.
I hadn't seen the last episode, and I think my wife and my daughter and I, we went through it last year from maybe like season 4 onwards. And I think that's like when it fucking hit its peak.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to say like Friends fan, having never seen the end. And of course, now that I'm a father, I'm fucking triggered. Every Christmas, my family loves to play British Christmas adverts to me. So I cry. It's awful. And so the last episode of Friends, I was a mess.
So were you a crier before you had a kid and it increased, or was it like a change for you? Because I was always a very emotional person, but like movies didn't really get to me. But like I have a very distinct memory of watching Into the Spider-Verse, like the first one, in the theater with my son. And when his dad is talking through the door to him, like just bawling, just like that father-son stuff. Or like there's one line in Royal Tenenbaums that gets me every single time. And it's just when Ben Stiller says, "It's been a rough year, Dad." And I'm like, every time gets me. It's so good.
I grew up as a kid. I was a crier. And I remember one day I got upset and some kids in the playground like made fun of me for crying.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, you can't. Okay, you can't do that. All right. So we take our emotions, we press them down, and that I did. That's worked since. So
it's very, very British of you.
Yeah. No emotions. And then only when I had our kid, or my wife had our kid, it was like I think we went to go see. My wife and I went to see like a Disney movie right before my daughter was born, and it hit me, and I was like, "Why am I? Wow, this is weird." And then the thing that gets me is choreographed large number dance acts.
Same.
I don't know why. It just gets me. It's the beauty in the movement. Like La La Land, I'm a fucking mess, dude. But it's. I don't know why it's like choreographed dance numbers, but it's just there's a beauty in it. There's a lot of envy in it. Like wish I was in it. But that it gets me every time.
There's something about like in a movie when someone is just exceptionally good at what they're doing.
Yes.
Like I remember like Lauryn Hill in Sister Act 2, like even as a kid,
holy shit,
just being like, I don't know why this is affecting me the way it's affecting me. And now as an adult, I understand. I'm like, oh no, because she's unbelievably good at what she does.
Yeah. And you know, you won't find me crying at a concert. Like if I go and I see someone like really, I'm not crying. And you know, I didn't cry when my dad died. That came out when I did mushrooms once, and I was like, oh, my emotions are coming up again. Oh no. But yeah, like just times when I know I should. I found that method of push it down. Yeah, choreographed dance number or a Christmas advert.
Yeah, no, same. I'm really good at whatever I'm feeling. If I feel like it will harm the moment I'm in or like make things more difficult, like, oh no, I can't.
Yeah,
I'll deal with this later.
I can latch on to that feeling of, oh, I'm sad. Put it down. It's kind of muscle memory.
Exactly. Yeah. We got bullied for it. I was called slurs for being emotional, so it's like
allegedly.
The title of this episode is just going to be Ross Greene allegedly on the episode. So
love it.
All right. Well, because I enjoy talking about this and I have an example. What is like something that unexpectedly made you cry? Because for me, are you familiar with Lorna Shore, the deathcore band?
Yes. Yeah.
So the Pain Remains trilogy, those songs,
okay,
they did videos for them. Just wept. It's deeply affecting. Like the way the video.
I don't know these videos, so I have to check them out.
The way the videos play into the lyrics of this song, there's one part where all the sound drops out and someone in the video mouths a word, not even like a line from the song.
Yeah.
And like just crumbles. Like I can't deal with it. It's so good. So a deathcore song.
Deathcore. No, that is wild. But Will Ramos, right, is the name of it. I mean, he's a very attractive man, and to hear that the noises coming out of his face, and I think you know it could be, just an incredible talent mixed with the visual aspect. Yeah, I guess it's the right combination of weird things that trigger. I think it's strange that it's choreographed dance numbers that makes me cry. So yeah, but I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if you know what got me, the trailer for the newest Matilda movie,
Mhm.
the musical, shit, where the kids are dancing down the hallway,
Just like flinging their papers and yeah.
that was a
My
mess.
daughter watches that movie on a loop. On
And
a
it's so
loop.
annoying. Like I'm trying to show my daughter, look how cool like this movie is, and it's Roald Dahl and blah 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 blah. You love the book, blah blah. And I'm just look at the dancing. Fuck. And at a certain point now, like we'll watch something on TV, and my wife and my daughter will just be like, "Is he gonna go?" Yeah, yeah.
But it's good that you're able to show that emotion so it is normalized and expected.
Yeah, but only if I cried at like the right time, though. You know, if I was, I think I'm a
But I do think that circles back to the thing I wanted to talk about, though, which is like the power of art and the certain types of art that do connect with you
yeah.
for whatever reason it
You're
may
right.
be.
You're
like,
right.
For me, there's such catharsis in watching something that is violent and over the top and just confronts all of the things I feel. I have such an emotional response to that where other people might be repulsed.
Yeah.
I can take a movie like I Saw the Devil, like
Yeah.
the most just extreme Korean revenge movie you can imagine.
Uh-huh.
And it's just brutal and 2.5 hours of just like, I can't believe I'm seeing these things on screen.
Yeah.
But it resonates so deeply with me.
Yep.
And it challenges me as I'm watching it. And like, I just connect with it in such a way. Whereas I said, like other people be like, no, this is smut. What did you do?
Right. Yeah. I hope you got it on VHS and it cannot be traced back to anything. Yeah, like I can't watch like rom-coms. I just don't I don't care for rom-coms.
Yeah.
And I don't have time in my life to make myself feel sad. I don't want to feel sad. And so like I watched like 12 Pounds by accident once, and I'm like, oh, I never want to do this to myself ever again. And you know, like Requiem, incredible. I don't want to. I can't do that to myself.
Yeah,
you know. But
that's a good one and done though. That's like glad I saw it. Everyone should see it.
Yep,
one time.
But oh yes, one time or one time only. But I will always watch a horror movie. Like I if I can spend my time being scared, like that's an emotion that I can deal with. But sadness, no, I don't have time for that. But I can definitely deal with being scared and being grossed out, and that's why I typically, that's what I watch.
Yeah.
Especially like Hereditary. Love that one. There was. I see it. Well, hey, here we go. We can play a game. We can play that game, and I'm gonna look it up.
If you need to look it up, I've got a fun Hereditary story while you look it up.
Okay. There's a movie about it's a daughter and a father living in a remote location, and she gives him medicine and is befriended by a very strange local man.
Is it Tideland? The
oh
Terry
my
Gilliam?
God! Wow! Wow! God, yes. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's Terry Gilliam. Yeah.
Wow, that was incredible. Really, really impressed.
So weirdly enough, I've been thinking about that movie a lot lately. So
okay.
I don't think I've seen it in probably 10 years, but it's one of those movies that's like so visually captivating and like so strange.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Bridges is just like decomposing for the whole movie.
Yeah.
And like, I can't tell you the plot, but like there's pieces of that movie that have just stuck with me for 10 plus years.
Absolutely. And that's it. I couldn't remember the name and you nailed it. But that has struck me. And I it's funny, I told my friends once, they were like newly dating, and they were like, yeah, well, You got any movie recommendations? And I was like, yeah, check out a
Idleland.
movie, Thailand. And they've like, it's 20 years later, they've not forgiven me. It's hilarious. But yeah,
That's amazing. Yeah.
movies like that, and I think they forgave me for that like many years later, and then later on I was like, hey, check out a movie Tusk. Don't look
I,
into it.
I love Tusk so much.
Wow, that was crazy. Yeah.
But I like that, like, those movies are very challenging, and I don't even
Mm,
know if they're good movies. And
right.
for me, they don't need to be. Like, if something challenges me, like punk music,
Mm-hmm.
recorded like shit, because that's the point. The point
Yeah.
isn't to have an album that sounds good. The point is
Yeah.
to convey a feeling,
Yeah.
and then for you to experience that in person. Like, that's the
Yes.
whole goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
They put out a record because they have to, not
Yeah.
because they want to.
Right.
So
Yep.
I like movies like that where you're like, I really like what they did. I don't know if they did it well, and I
Right.
don't know if this is good.
But
I
it's
was
out there now.
Yeah, I was listening to the Arrow video podcast, so just Arrow Films, just like
Okay.
a boutique like Blu-ray label, so like put out special editions of stuff. Um, and they did an episode on robot jocks. I don't know if you're familiar.
No.
So it's like if uh, if Pacific Rim was made in the 80s by Stuart Gordon and was about the Cold War instead of kaijus, it would be robot jocks.
That's great.
So it's like all these people who are now like massive special effects people, but like this is
Mm.
where they cut their teeth. So like it's
Oh,
not well
brilliant.
done, but it has all these pieces of like, oh no, I can see what they're doing. And because
Yeah.
it's not done well, I can see how they did it. And
Right.
so one of the hosts of the podcast, Dan Martin, is a special effects guy. So like he does all of Brandon Cronenberg's movies,
Okay.
um, and like just insane practical effects guy. And he's like, no, this movie was really important for me as a kid because I could see how they did it. It's like sitting to the side of a stage
Oh,
watching a
yeah.
magic trick.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, now I know how to do it because I
Uh-huh.
watched them do it not that well. And now I
Right.
can iteratively get better at it.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you're saying about punk music, I remember I saw a band play at like a house party once, and they were oh they were like the opening band for my friend's band.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd known of this name, and to see them play, and my friend's band were like pretty good, but to see these guys play and not be great, but they were still up there
Mm-hmm.
as a band, playing music, having fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could do that. Like, it seemed
Yeah.
so, because my friends were so good, I was like, I could never be that good. I could never be
Mhm.
on stage. But then to see somebody just fucking get up there and do it,
Yeah.
you don't have to be good, but you're doing it. I was like, oh, the barrier of entry isn't that
Mhm.
large, And so I love to see like the Live and Unplugged Nirvana album, like listening
Yeah.
to the mistakes and just stuff like that that makes it real. Like
Yeah.
I much prefer listening to that. I love that stuff. And it was right after that show that I saw these people playing. I made 3 pieces of art that are probably, I don't know where they are now, but I wrote them down, and it was a kind of a series I did for a bit, and it was like, I want to be in a band. It was just like text, and it said, I want to
Mhm.
be in a band. I want to be an artist, and I want to skateboard.
Mhm.
And I kind of, these are like bucket list things I
Yeah.
wanted. I always felt like I wanted to do, but it was something that I would have to work on in order to do it. Like I always wanted to skydive. I did that. I paid somebody and I went and did it.
Yeah.
But these are things that like you have to dedicate your time to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a band. I am an artist in my perception. And like it was great to put these things down after seeing it being achieved, and it kind of manifested and actually happened. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I like it.
I love that. I feel
Yeah.
like, and especially in the industries you and I work in, everything is so like work focused all the time, and
Mm.
everything's work goals and career goals. and people ask what your 5-year plans are. And
Yeah.
I have 0 5-year plans for
Yeah.
work.
Right.
Outside of my 9 to 5, I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with the person I feel like I am or the person that I want to be.
Right.
My work is not related to that at all. Like,
No.
I would love it if I could continue to grow this show. Other ideas that I'm working on, that you and I are working on, that I would love to see come to fruition, that I think have really good legs to them.
Yeah.
I would love for those things to become my work at some point. But I'm not naive enough to think, oh, my mortgage is going to get paid by talking into a microphone.
Sure.
Like,
no, yeah. Hey, that's the attitude you need to change, my man, because it can.
It can. I would love it if it happened. I don't
Mm.
expect it to happen. Like, my expectation is that I will come up with a good idea, and I feel like I have some good ideas, and that I will execute them to the best of my ability. And how people receive it, to me, is less important than the fact that I did it. Like, even this show, like, I record it and I just put it out. Like, I don't want to listen back. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
While I'm in it, I just want to be as in the moment as possible.
Yeah.
And then it's done. Like, I'll move on to the next one. I don't feel any sort of attachment to it. It's something I already did. And so let's go to the next one.
But I think the beauty in it is that you put yourself in a space where you are doing this. You are doing a podcast. You are talking. You are putting something out there. But what that idea might spark is really important, because you've positioned yourself in a place where you now have the ability to think of things that can happen from there. And I think that's really important, is taking advantage of the situation you're in, and like not necessarily expecting the situation that you're in to be the end goal, but using it as a jumping point.
Yeah. I mean, this this podcast started because there's another one. I've been waiting for someone else. Like, we've been working on it together. And in the meantime, I was like, I should just start. I've got the equipment.
Yeah.
I'll just do it. Like, it'll fill the void of the thing that I thought I would already be doing.
Yeah.
And now it's branching off into wildly different things.
Exactly. And it wouldn't have done that had you not just started. Yeah. And I'm not saying that this is the case with you, but I say to my daughter all the time, that, like, if you do something, if you are an artist, which she is, like, you've got a backlog of really shit pictures. You've got some really bad drawings to get out of you before the really good one happens. And each time you do a good one, the next time you do one, you'll look back at that good one and you're like, that's terrible. But you got to get bad songs out of you. You got to get bad pictures. You got, like, even when you start something, like you were saying, you know, with the calls at work, you got to get the bad ones out.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of next mentality, like, just, it's out there. And now I move on.
Yeah.
And I got into that with painting, is like, you know, it was important to realize when to stop at a painting when it wasn't working. There's a lot to be said about persevering and pushing through and not giving up, which is also something, you know, we got to teach our kids. But also realizing when you're losing time at doing something that's not working out, just move on. Like, get it out there. If you paint over it, if you burn it, if you just, like, forget about it. There's plenty of paintings that I've sold that if I look back on now, it'd be really embarrassing. But you know what? They paid part of my mortgage. It happened, and it's done, and it's out there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it was in the first episode, I tell Kaveh, I'm like, this is the worst the show will ever be.
Yeah.
Like, it can only get better because I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Yep.
And episode 1, when I get to episode 100, I'll be like, what the hell was that? Like, I just kind of, like, floundered around and didn't know what to say. And at the time, it was the best I could do. So it's great.
Right. Yeah.
A year from now.
I wonder how many people, for a medium like this, I wonder how many people would actually say, you know what, I'm going back to episode 1 and I'm listening to all of them. But I mean, you know, I feel that way about music. I think a lot of people feel that way about movies as well. But with something like a podcast, when there become so many episodes and they do kind of become time specific, maybe you don't go all the way back to the beginning. Yeah. So maybe the moment.
Don't know. I like to think they're evergreen enough that anybody could just like pick it up and listen.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'll get to a point where I would advise people not to go back.
But then again, it's cute. It's cute to see like how bad it was, and where you got to,
or to see what it becomes. Because I feel like I had an idea of what the show was. Like it was more of like a 3-act structure was how I mapped it out.
Okay.
In the beginning, and then I started having conversations, and I was like, it feels like I'm trying to force conversations into a mold.
Okay.
And then it stunted the way the conversations were going.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
right.
No, I'll just go wherever it needs to go. It was actually a conversation you and I had when you were talking about Joe Rogan. And you were like, it seems like if he gets to a point where no matter who the guest is and how good the guest is, he'll just throw out something that is like not related to anything they were talking about.
Yeah.
But because he knows he can rely on it.
Right. Yeah.
And like, I don't ever want to do that. I always want it to be the conversation is what it is, regardless of what I thought it would be when we started.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that would be wild if you were just having a conversation with somebody and you didn't know where the conversation was going and you just started talking about alien conspiracies or like Pokemon cards. Like we weren't talking about that at all. Why are we now? Why are we talking about Pokemon cards?
Anyway, so I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's a card game we can
I have not been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Not been playing enough Yu-Gi-Oh.
Never. I've never seen an episode. I didn't get into anime until like 5 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm still new to it.
I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh. I never really got into Pokemon. I played like a weird version of it. Weird British version. It's all about.
It was like a Tesco version.
It's Tesco's versus Sainsbury's versus Aldi. Yeah. No, it's a game. I think it's still going. It's called Top Trumps. But basically it's like a deck of cards. But then the ones that I had was like just Marvel characters. And each Marvel character had like a set of, I don't know, like 8 stats. And I don't even know if I was playing it correctly, to be honest with you, but my brother would split the deck and then you would turn your card over and you would pick which stat you want to put up against the other person's stat. And then whoever won gets the card. So I got into that. And I say get into it. I love playing it. Nobody else played it. It's just me and my brother.
So I have a set of those cards. I had no idea what it was. It came with actually one of those Arrow releases of Battle Royale, the Japanese movie.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
So I have a set of top trump cards for Battle Royale, and like it came with the box set. And I was like,
you mean Hunger Games?
Yeah, sure. I was like, I have no idea what this is.
Yeah. So I mean, I've tried to see if my daughter wants to get into Pokemon, and she's just like, nah. Like another one of those things where I just jumped into it too hard. I got a Switch, and I was like, I'm getting you Pokemon. Like you're gonna love Pokemon. She doesn't care. She wants to put clothes on the girl and like ride around. I'm like, yeah, but you can like get this little character to follow you around and fight him with other people. She's like, doesn't care. So yeah, I miss Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh definitely seemed cooler, like the style. I always preferred like Digimon. That looked cooler than Pokemon. I never got into any of them, but that one always looked cooler. Yeah.
Well, you and I can start. All right.
Okay. Yeah. It's never too late.
There's always, I guess, Magic. Right now, guys our age just play Magic now.
I've wanted to. I'm that. You know what? Not unlike cocaine. I'm glad that missed me because, I feel like I would really get into that.
Yeah, there's already too many things I want to waste money on. And similar to you, as a lifelong sober person, though, like I feel like cocaine probably because I'm like you've been at work trips with me. Like I am on. I think I was awake for 72 straight hours in Vegas. I remember us grabbing cases of Red Bull and pounding sugar-free Red Bull.
Yeah,
all day long.
We had cases of them at our disposal. I remember putting them in my backpack and yeah. I did. I date. I say I dated. Loosely put. I went. I was hanging out with a lady who was sober when I absolutely was not. But her and her sober friends would just pound Red Bulls and smoke cigarettes all the time. I'm like, hey, you want some Jaeger? She's like, no, but fucking double Red Bulls, absolutely. Yeah, it seemed like sober people tended to really lean heavily into the Red Bulls. Yeah.
I think it's just because it's so awkward if you sit there drinking water. I've had so
Yeah.
many client interactions
Yeah.
where they get weird about me not drinking. So I just started doing like cranberry Red Bull. That way it looked like a mixed drink.
Okay. Yeah.
And then nobody questioned it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have that conversation again. Because everybody just assumes I'm an alcoholic.
Well, I may be wrong in saying this, but I feel like there is kind of like getting drunk to Gen Alpha is kind of gauche. Like it's not.
It's out. Alcohol sales are down.
Yeah, vaping's up.
Well, yeah, because it's cool.
Yeah, it still looks very cool.
Alcohol
bars. That's
elf bars.
That's it. Yeah.
Alcohol sales are down. They watch less porn. They have less sex. So,
what do they do more of? TikTok dances, I guess. More
dancing, cardio. They're doing a lot more cardio.
Hey, there's more choreographed dance numbers in my future, it sounds like.
You have a lifetime of crying ahead of you.
Hey, it's a lifetime of not crying. No, I'll be crying. Yeah, I've been crying on TikTok for the wrong reason. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard numerous stories of teenagers like not wanting to drive and like not, and I don't know if it's the ease of like your parents being able to give you a credit card or just like the Uber account.
Yeah,
which is equally as dangerous, like getting into the car with a complete stranger.
Agreed.
But kids just like, yeah, why? Like, I can see my friends on Fortnite. Like, why am I going to a field? Why would I drive out to a field to get bitten by spiders and stuff to go hang out with my friends when I could just like hang out with them and shoot them?
Look, I'm not trying to get Lyme disease. All right, I need to stay home.
Again.
Okay, again.
Yeah. There's so many like coming of age 90s 2000 movies of like, smoking cigarettes on somebody else's roof or breaking into someone's pool.
Going to see a dead body.
Right. That like we all aspired to do as kids that like, yeah, you want to go see a dead body? No. You know where a dead body is? Why haven't you called the police? We could make a podcast about this.
Yeah.
And said, no, how about we go down and we poke him and then we learn a life lesson on the way and back.
Yeah, what if we just get real sad and then we walk home and then as the day ends, everybody just fades into the distance. We never see each other again,
Yeah. Did they ever call the police about the dead body?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they just let him be.
Yeah, they confronted the older brother and life lesson.
Yeah.
Poured leeches off them and then learned more life lessons. Yeah.
It's a great fucking movie, though.
Yeah. I mean, I've had this conversation a couple of times recently that like, it's an old story, but like, as kids we'd go out until like the street lights came on and then you had to come home, and like the idea of your parents are standing on the front doorstep yelling your name until you came back is like, I couldn't imagine myself now just standing on my front doorstep banging a pan calling for my daughter. But like we lived it was incredible. We lived in like a pretty poor housing estate, but it was the best environment for a bunch of everybody had at least 2 kids in the house, and we'd all just like, as soon as everybody had their breakfast, we'd all just like, there was no I will be out here at 8:00. It was just like, all right, well, cartoons are over. We'd just all kind of end up in the main green, and then all right, everyone's got a bike, we out.
Yeah, let's go. As long as we're home in time for countdown, we're good to go.
It was it. Yeah, absolutely. Country File comes on, we're out the door, back for countdown. Mr. Blobby, hush, done. Yeah, but now the idea of my daughter saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go hang out with some kids that I've never met," like my mum had never met these kids that I was hanging out
Yeah.
with. The idea of my daughter going out on a bike for hours on end, you must be out of your fucking mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine. And like I'm out in the woods right now, so like
Mm.
my kids can just go like wander around outside. Um, but statistically, we live in safer times than we did back then, but we're so much more aware of it now,
Yeah,
of like how
yeah,
fucked up things can be.
yeah. But and that's the thing, like even like fucked up things did happen, but like
Yeah,
you walk
more
home.
often.
Yeah, you'd walk home with a broken arm. You'd make it home. You'd walk home and you'd like fallen off your bike and you put your teeth through your lip, but you made it home. And but like I don't want my daughter to do that and me not be there to fucking Superman her up and yeah,
Exactly.
let's go. I've got you. Let her hobble back with a broken leg. Like plenty of kids have done it. Yeah.
No, I remember when both my kids were very young, like they were so comfortable just like standing up on a table and jumping off knowing I would catch them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there was
Yep.
never any doubt that I would
Yep.
always be there to catch them.
Yeah.
And like I live in fear of the day that something happens and I'm not there to catch them,
Yeah.
metaphorically. Like
Yeah.
it
Yep.
will happen. And then I think there will be like a clear delineation between like their early childhood and then moving
Yeah.
into
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
adolescence when that happens, when like,
Yeah.
oh, that was when no one caught me.
Right.
And I feel like we're just trying to protect them from that as much
Yeah.
as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overthinking that, but like in my brain, I'm like, oh, I got to be there to catch them because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
believe I will.
Well, and I think that's something that I try to lean heavily on, and I think that really helped with my relationship with my mum was that like I know that you're going to do stupid shit.
Mhm.
Just let me know where you are.
Yeah.
And there was a certain level of just mutual trust in that, like I know you're going to fuck up. Just
Mhm.
let me know so I can get you.
Yeah.
And that way, like I don't want my mum to pick me up from a police station. So if these kids are doing this, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
My mum's going to get me. I don't need to be where I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I want to do that for my daughter. Like, I'm always here for you to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, fucked up shit's gonna happen. I've probably been through it, or at least I can help you. I'm here. Do what you need to do. I'm here for you. Just know that I'm here for you. And so not so much like provide everything and like stop her from learning those lessons, but that's the hard part about being a parent. It's not necessarily like the financial and the sleepless nights and all that shit. It's the decisions you have to make. Like, nope, she's gonna have to break her arm. I don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, because we will fuck them up in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what's the least damaging way we can fuck them up? Because we're still people and we will fail, and we're bringing whatever past traumas we've got.
Yeah,
we're working through.
Yep.
And like some of that will imprint on them. So it's just about protecting as much of that as we can, so they can be the best version of them they can be without too much of our shit being superimposed onto them. The way I've been talking to people about is like, I feel like kids were very much viewed, I was growing up in the 90s and early 2000s of like, they're a product of the parents. Like,
okay, yeah, right,
less than people, you are a product, and once you're an adult, you become a person. And so like people viewing their kids as people from the start and like having conversations with them as people, or like getting feedback on how do you want to be raised, how do you want to be parented, what are you interested in ways that I never had those conversations.
yeah, that's really interesting you said, because I feel like that's like how my dad saw us. Like we weren't ever really able to communicate with him until like we were adults. And he died before I kind of got to that age. But I saw my brother have that relationship with him, in that like they were able to meet. Like as soon as my brother was able to like buy him a beer, and it wasn't like my dad didn't have any money. It was more like we're on a common level.
Yeah.
Then they became, like they had a relationship. But yeah, that is a weird product of like I've definitely had that conversation with my daughter. Like, is there anything I do that you don't want me to do, or is it something that you wish I did do? Because like in hindsight, having not had that kind of transparency with the parent, not that I feel like I needed it. I think my relationship was great, but just that openness to be like,
Yeah.
is there something that you'd rather me do? Why not have those conversations with your
Yeah.
kids?
I think it just establishes like a level of trust of like, oh, I don't have to hide. So when that shit does happen,
Yes.
they know they can go to you with it because you've already talked about difficult things.
Yeah.
And so like it's not going to be a surprise.
And also they know that they have a voice to be able to, if they're at work or in a situation and something is happening that they don't like, they can say, I don't like that. Is the idea. Yeah. Panic Shack have a song about that. And it's just a really simple song. It's like, when you look at me like that, I don't like that. And they say that over and over again. And my daughter and I were outside kicking the ball around last night, and it was playing, and we came in and she was just like singing it like a mantra. I was like, yeah, way to go, girls. Like, that's exactly what that's for, you know?
Exactly. No, my wife is really good about that with our kids. My daughter's teacher complimented us like, hey, we've never had an 8-year-old advocate for herself the way your daughter does.
Brilliant.
And like just the idea that, and even in like the notes they send home every day, be like, hey, Isla said she was feeling nervous in class today. Like things like that are so small, but like the idea of knowing how to voice that at 8 would have been so foreign to me.
Oh, yeah.
To even like be so in tune with my feelings, but also feel like I can say them to an adult, especially an adult in a position of power, like a teacher.
Yeah. And even if they don't do anything, the fact that they addressed it and were able to get it out is, yeah.
We're doing a good job, Ross. That's what
absolutely. Hey,
we're doing the best we can. Right. We're the cool dads.
That's right. I'm trying. I'm on borrowed time.
Until my kids start telling people their dad has a podcast, and then I'll down a few notches.
But you know what? I was saying this, that, you know, it is definitely like my version of entertainment. And I think that being able to, you know, it's kind of like Reddit, you know, it's communities of people that are interested in the things that you're interested in. You can have that conversation. And I love listening to people talk about things that I'm into. And so the fact that there are so many ways that you can spend your time, like not watching network TV and being advertised to, that you can listen to and have great entertainment in about things that you want to hear about. So I think there's more of them will continue to grow, and whether they get picked up and people listen to them, I don't think it matters. I think the fact that you and I get to spend a Sunday morning together, it's great.
No, it works.
Yeah,
it works. Like I said, my expectation is just good conversation.
Yeah.
Anything else that happens is just, it's a bonus.
Yeah. I mean, I do love, and I think that it kind of comes from those old British like radio shows. And I was actually on the American Archive website, and they have a lot of old like American radio shows where it's like there's characters and there's props and all that lot.
Oh, there's a bunch of podcasts of those, and I listen to them pretty regularly.
Right, but like Comedy Bang Bang, those guys, the Earwolf guys, they put them together, but there's like reoccurring characters that have nothing to do with the person that they're interviewing. But I love that it's like that quirky character off in the background. I do love a bit of a production. Yeah, surprising.
But British chat shows are where it's at. Like that is.
I'm so mad that they can't be replicated. I mean, I understand why they can't, but like they don't get brought over and syndicated. Like,
no, I have to watch them on YouTube. Like that's where or like 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown. Like I love all of that shit.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we watch as a family. 8 out of 10 Cats. There's a show. Would I Lie to You? Is another one. And then Gogglebox. Have you seen Gogglebox?
Oh yeah. Do you watch Taskmaster?
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Every single episode.
Have you seen the New Zealand one?
Okay, it's so funny you say that because they tried it in America.
Yeah.
And
with Reggie Watts, right? Like
I don't know.
It should have worked.
I don't know how it did. But we have watched every single episode of the British one. And so we're like up to date with it. And so I just this week suggested when we watched the latest episode, like, do you want to try the New Zealand one? Because at the beginning of Taskmaster, I recognized more and more people. I haven't been in England for like 20 odd years.
Yeah.
So the amount of people that I recognize on the shows was dwindling. And so from time like now it's like I recognize one person on the panel. And so I was like, I don't know any of these people anyway.
Yeah.
What would it matter if I watched the people from New Zealand? And so we just started watching it. Yeah.
Season 2, one of the funniest things I've ever seen, just
yeah?
as a whole. It is so good. So Guy Montgomery is on it, and I love Guy Montgomery. He's a stand-up. He has a show called The Worst Idea of All Time, and they pick a movie. And They watch that same movie once a week for a full year and review it every week. When Cats came out, they saw Cats 7 days in a row in the theater. So it's just like a full year of these two guys losing their minds.
Wow.
Like they watched Sex and the City 2 for a full year. They watched Grown Ups 2 for a full year.
Do they ever do good movies?
No. The point is that they're bad.
Yikes.
But like it's funny because like you'll see them start to turn a corner and be like, oh no, I think this is good.
Right.
And then because every episode they do what they call it their shining light. Like, well, what was your favorite part this time? And then by like week 40, they're struggling so hard just to even talk about the movie, but then to find something positive about it.
Yeah. The transition between one scene to the next was my favorite part.
but it's his sense of humor is just so off the wall. Like throughout the entire series, he wears a shirt with different photos of Paul Williams on it from like his childhood.
Excellent.
Just little stuff like that. I'm like, that's perfect. But it's once you get to season 2, we'll have to chat again because it is unreal how funny it is.
Yeah, I don't understand how shows like that don't work in America. Like I love that, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like there's only so many British actors that like when you like start seeing a lot of the people kind of cross over in different TV shows, you know, oh, there's that guy from that, there's that guy. There's a small pool of people to like pick from, and then when you get to like
a Liverpool, show, even. Well...
nice.
I apologize.
It's good. It's good. But when they start turning up on the panel shows, and like people make a career of just being on panel shows,
and Jimmy Carr. I mean, he does stand up, but that is his thing. Is
absolutely. But I think that the pool is so big in America that it doesn't. Maybe that's That's the only thing that I've kind of taken from it. But you can still get your regular pool of like C-list celebrities, to be on a panel like a somewhat educational, like QI. How does QI not work in America?
I had a conversation about this while at Sync with Laura. So she was watching Great British Bake Off, and then she talked about trying to watch the American one. And I don't think it works because what we want is we either want to be degrading people. So it would be like C-list celebrities that we treat like shit.
Oh, like Desperate Housewives.
Or it has to be a competition.
Right.
Like it can't just be, hey, we're all doing this thing. And there's aspects of competition to Taskmaster, but it's also them just like fucking around because there's no stakes. Yeah. It's level playing field.
Yeah.
Whereas everything here, there has to be like a winner. Someone has to win. And I think that's why it doesn't translate that well.
Yeah.
Because we're either only shitting on one person.
Right.
Like we pick a villain, we edit a villain into a show. Or it's like, I mean, back when Dr. Drew had that like celebrity rehab show, which is like the darkest shit imaginable. Like, here's a bunch of people struggling with addiction. And let's film them because they need money. So they will agree to do it. And like, that's what we do here.
there was a good, I think it was a Netflix documentary about like the how troublesome the 90s and the 2000s were when like Jerry Springer and things like that were out. It was like we are just it's all just the Schadenfreude of just watching people's
Yeah.
lives on fire and just oh good, all right, I watched that with my breakfast. I'm gonna go to work. Like why are you starting the day off like that? Um, yeah, I think the aspect of trying to win at something, like with The Office, I think that it was like the British version of it being just a super cringy slice of life for people living in like working in an office environment got turned into a multi-series like love story,
Yeah.
which was unnecessary. You know, like it was a rom-com kind of situation where, and I, to be honest with you, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch a lot of it, but it wasn't about how awkward David Brent was.
Yeah.
You know, it's strange that it couldn't just be that. You know,
It's because everything has to scale.
10Xification, baby.
Fucking sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Get like Luther. I love the show Luther. 3 episodes a season. They do it every 2 years.
Yeah,
Like every 2 years, I'll get a Luther movie essentially,
right.
and it's
yeah.
good. And then
Yep.
they did like Netflix bought it, and they did like an American version of like a
Oh,
movie,
man.
and it's not good. Like it
Fucking
loses.
Black Mirror.
I haven't seen the last 2 seasons. Just I'm done
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, I didn't finish the last season. I wanted to, but yeah.
No, I think it's such a different approach to entertainment as a whole.
Yeah.
Like we don't have like a national lottery here. Like there's so many great films that only get made because of the national lottery.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've ever seen Censor. It's a horror movie. It takes place like during the video nasties, and it's about a for anyone listening who isn't a horror fan, video nasties was just film censorship in the 80s.
Yeah.
In the UK, good old Mary Whitehouse.
Yeah,
So it's about a censor who like who sees a movie and it like triggers something inside of her, like a buried memory.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Like sends her on this like horrible path. Really good.
Wow.
It got made because of the national lottery. Like it's a low budget movie.
Wow.
That only got made because like these things exist in other countries. And like, here Blumhouse, if you're lucky, might buy you and you get $3 million to make a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it has to fit a formula.
Yeah.
And over there, as long as you hire people from that country,
Yep.
and you film it in that country, you're eligible for grants. And we just don't do that because that doesn't scale. We don't view art as a necessity in the same way that other countries do. Yeah.
That's wild. And there's just like to me, one of the reasons why I moved here, like the marketing for America definitely seemed as though, hey, we got all the money, we'll make everybody's dreams come true. Like you have the ability to do that, but no, no, JK, no, no.
Are you sure? You sure? I mean, I did tell you that I compare America to Corey Feldman.
So good. Such a good.
So much promise, peaked in the 80s, and now just like a joke.
Scrambling.
Anytime it pops up on the news, you're like, it's going to be bad, and we're going to watch it. So.
Yeah.
We are the Corey Feldman of nations.
Incredible. I'm trying to think of what Great Britain would be.
I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Wherever it goes, it takes over. Okay.
Yeah.
It dominates.
Yeah.
And now does nothing.
Yeah. Now it's just self-destructing. Yeah. Terrible.
Anyway, all right. We're coming up on 2 hours.
I could do it for another 2, mate. I could do it for another 2.
The best part about this is I'm not going to edit a single fucking thing. This was all good. I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Hey, right back. Hey, I would love to do this every week. If you actually, one I did have one question. What is the album behind you?
Okay, so this is a company called Cadabra.
Okay.
So this is a reading of Dunwich Horror on vinyl.
Ooh.
So they do like these insane artwork for it.
Wow. Yeah, it looks incredible.
Unbelievable. But they bring in narrators and they just read stories. Like they got a bunch of Poe stuff. They've got a massive amount of
I
H.P.
love
Lovecraft
it.
stuff.
That is,
And then,
yeah,
and then they release it on vinyl
that's incredible.
with like a full score. It's amazing.
Yikes. Yeah, that's it. That looks very cool. Very cool.
That was after we sold our house and I had some cash. I bought a bunch of those because they are not cheap.
Okay.
But very nice collector's items.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
And if you like audio fiction, it's
Love
great.
I started to sample a record that I found in. So my wife's from Alabama, and we go there pretty frequently. And there's like antique shops there, and like that's her vibe. And so we always go, and I always try and pick up records. And it's funny because like they have like Prince vinyl for like $2 because like nobody wants to listen to Prince. It like some random person had a Prince album in the 80s, and for some reason, and so I found this one, and it's a pastor doing a sermon to a congregation, and it's him kind of scaring kids off of drugs. Like he got into drugs and he's like reformed and he's getting kids off of drugs. But the way that he is telling this story about him growing up poor and like didn't have any friends and he fell in with this crowd, the stories that he is telling sound like so much fun. And there's just like, yeah, me and these kids, we used to drive around and get drunk and we'd do this and do that. And like we'd smoke weed and we'd do this and do that. Like, sounds like you had a fucking blast, dude. And so the whole, like, it's two sides. And one side is like his childhood and how he got up to all this stuff. And the other side is like how he found Jesus. And like, so I've not sampled that side, but the side of him going out and going to the moon tower, having a grand old time. It's hilarious.
It's like that Chappelle Show sketch of Tyrone in front of like the class of kids and you don't go down to this street and ask this guy, and like the kids are all taking notes.
Exactly.
Perfect. Ross, wonderful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. This has been a lot of fun. I'm here for you, man. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. So keep it up, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the artwork. Thank you for all the support.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and we'll do this again.
I look forward to it. I do.
Thanks for listening. Give it 5 stars, because my dad is awesome and cool.